My wife fell in love with her teenage student, and I found out through a message that shattered everything. You won't believe how far she went, or who ended up calling me to expose it all. I always thought the distance in our marriage was just part of getting older. People change. Life gets busy. You stop doing the little things, but the foundation is still there, or so I told myself. My wife, Megan, started tutoring from home during the pandemic. At first, it was just a side gig, some neighborhood kids needing help with math or writing while schools were closed. But she had a gift for it. Parents loved her, the kids did well, and before long she turned our spare room into a full-blown tutoring office. She was proud of it. I was proud of her too. At least, I used to be. We've been married 12 years. No kids, just us, and maybe that's where it all started to go wrong. We tried in the early years, but after 2 miscarriages, we just stopped trying. Megan said she didn't want to go through the heartbreak again. I understood, but a piece of us faded after that. Our house got quieter, colder. Still, we made it work. Or I thought we did. She threw herself into work. I did 2 long hours, meetings, late nights. We were always busy. I'd come home to the smell of leftover takeout, hear the faint buzz of her voice behind the office door, and tell myself it was fine. We were just building our lives. Sometimes that meant parallel tracks. She'd smile at dinner, ask me about my day. I'd nod, half listening. Normal married stuff, right? I didn't even notice when she started talking about him, Tyler. He was one of her new students. A senior in high school, just turned 19. He needed help prepping for college entrance essays, something Megan was excellent at. She said he was smart but unfocused, brilliant but chaotic. A little lost, she said one night, sipping tea on the couch. Reminds me of how we used to be at that age. I didn't think anything of it. A lot of her students were memorable to her. She'd always been the nurturing type. She liked the idea of saving someone. Tyler just seemed like another kid in need of direction. But over the next few months, his name kept coming up. Oh, Tyler brought me this book he thought I'd love. Tyler says I give better advice than his own mom. Tyler opened up to me today about some really deep stuff. I'd nod, smile, try to show interest, even though I was mostly exhausted. I figured it was nice for her to feel connected to someone again. I didn't see the red flags. Or maybe I didn't want to. One night, I came home from work early. I don't even remember why, maybe a canceled meeting or something. The house was quiet, but not in the usual way. I walked past the hallway toward her office. The door was open a crack, and I heard it, her laugh. It wasn't the laugh I usually heard. It was light, girlish, playful. It stopped me cold. I peeked through the door just enough to see them. She was sitting on the edge of her desk. Tyler was in the chair, leaning forward, hanging on her every word. They were just talking, technically. But the energy between them, it wasn't tutor and student. It wasn't friendly. It was intimate. I didn't confront her. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared of what I already knew. Maybe I wanted to pretend I was wrong. That night, she was extra nice to me. Made dinner. Sat with me to watch a show she usually pretended to like. She laughed at my jokes, even the dumb ones. She touched my arm gently during a commercial break, and I wanted so badly to believe it meant something. But I couldn't shake the image of them in her office. That stupid look on her face. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I called in sick to work. I didn't tell Megan. She was already in her office by the time I got up, door closed, that gentle murmur of voices coming through the wall. I sat at the kitchen table for hours, pretending to read the news while really just staring at the wall. My stomach was in knots. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous husband, paranoid over a younger man talking to his wife. But it wasn't in my head. Something was off. Around noon, I stood outside the office door. I wasn't eavesdropping, not exactly, just listening. I heard her laugh again. His laugh too, lower, cockier this time. Then something that stopped me cold. He said, "I wish I met you sooner." She paused. I could hear the smile in her voice when she responded. I wish that too. I walked away before I heard anything else. That night, I tried to talk to her. I waited until she was brushing her teeth and leaned against the doorframe of our bathroom. I asked how tutoring was going. She said fine. I asked about Tyler. She blinked, looked a little too calm, and said, "He's just a student." Why? I shrugged. "You talk about him a lot. Seems like you're close." She rinsed her mouth, wiped her face. "He's just going through a lot. His parents are splitting up. He doesn't really have anyone to talk to. I'm just helping." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something in her tone, it was defensive, like she'd practiced that answer. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more things. His tutoring sessions were getting longer. Sometimes he'd stay after, even when his actual session was over. I come home and see his shoes by the door, his backpack leaning against the wall like he lived here. One Friday, I came home early again, deliberately this time. Megan was in the living room, hair down, wearing this old college hoodie she hadn't worn in years, the kind she used to throw on after we'd been close. Tyler was on the couch, way too relaxed for my comfort. They weren't touching, but the space between them was too small. She jumped a little when she saw me. "Oh, hey. Didn't know you were off early." Tyler just smiled. "Hey, Mr. H." I hated that. Mr. H. Like we were some sitcom family. I told Megan we needed to talk later. She nodded but avoided my eyes. When he left, I asked her point blank, "Are you emotionally involved with him?" She laughed like I was being ridiculous. "He's 19, for God's sake." I didn't ask if it was physical, I said quietly. "I asked if you were emotionally involved." She didn't answer right away, just stared at me. Then she said, "I don't know what you want me to say." I felt something inside me crack a little. That night, she slept in the guest room to clear her head. I sat alone in our bedroom, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me, wondering when exactly my marriage had stopped being ours and started becoming hers and his. I started checking the tutoring calendar. Tyler was on there almost every day. Some days, twice. Weekends, too. I asked Megan about it, trying to sound casual. "His parents are really leaning on me," she said. "They trust me, and he needs structure." But he wasn't a child. He was 19, old enough to vote, old enough to know what he was doing. I started wondering if she knew, too. At some point, I stopped pretending. I wasn't okay. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I'd sit in my car after work and just stay there, dreading walking through that front door, dreading what I might see. Or worse, what I wouldn't. Megan had changed. Not just with Tyler, everywhere. Her phone was always face down. She used to be so open, always sharing stuff she read or found interesting. Now, if I walked in the room while she was texting, she'd lock the screen like it was a reflex. She stopped wearing her wedding ring too. Said it was getting resized. That was a month ago. Still, I told myself it wasn't cheating. Not technically. Not physically. Maybe they were just too close. Maybe I was overreacting. That illusion shattered one Thursday night. She'd fallen asleep on the couch. I was cleaning up the kitchen, the usual mess from her late tutoring sessions, 2 mugs, one with lipstick that wasn't mine, a half-empty takeout box. Tyler's favorite, according to her. He liked to eat while working. I glanced over at her laptop, open on the counter. I swear I didn't go looking for anything. But the screen lit up as I passed, and I saw a name pop up on her messaging app. Tyler. Just his name. Nothing else. But I stopped. Then I sat down and opened it fully. What I saw wasn't graphic. It wasn't explicit. But it was worse in a way because it was real. Dozens of messages between them. Long, thoughtful paragraphs. Her saying she wished they'd met in another life. Him calling her his person. Inside jokes. Late-night confessions. They weren't sleeping together. Not yet, at least. But it was clear, this wasn't a teacher helping a student. This was a relationship. Emotional. Intimate. And somehow, even more painful because it was built in the open, in my home, on the ashes of my marriage. There was one message I'll never forget. Tyler had written, "I don't want to leave when I'm done with school. I want to stay here. With you." And she'd replied, "I want that too." I closed the laptop and sat there, staring at the wall for what felt like hours. She was still asleep on the couch, one hand curled under her chin like nothing was wrong. Like she wasn't rewriting our life with someone else in real time. I didn't wake her. I didn't say a word. I just went upstairs, shut the door, and sat on the edge of the bed like a stranger in my own life. For the first time in 12 years, I didn't feel married. I felt replaced. The next morning, I watched her move around the kitchen like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, fed the cat, hummed to herself. It felt surreal, like watching someone play the role of my wife instead of actually being her. I waited until she was halfway through her cup. Calm, routine, unguarded. "I read the messages," I said, without raising my voice. She froze. Didn't even pretend not to know what I meant. Just stood there, coffee mug in hand, staring into the sink. "How long?" I asked. "How long have you been in love with him?" Her jaw tightened. "Don't twist this." That line. I hadn't even raised my voice, hadn't accused her of anything beyond the plain truth, and already she was deflecting. "Twist what? The part where you said you wanted to stay? Or the part where he calls you his person?" She set the mug down slowly. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it, Megan?" She took a deep breath, like she was preparing to give a speech. "Tyler's had a rough life. His dad left when he was young. His mom's emotionally unavailable. He needed someone to believe in him." I stared at her. "So you what? Became his girlfriend? I'm not his girlfriend, she said quickly. It's not romantic. Not like that. I laughed, actually laughed. You want him to stay. You share things with him you haven't said to me in years. You send each other love notes that stop just short of saying the actual words. But sure, not romantic. She didn't answer. What happened to us? I asked, and I meant it. I wasn't yelling, wasn't angry. I just wanted to know. We used to be a team. We used to talk. When did we start speaking to everyone else more than each other? She sat down across from me. You stopped seeing me. That stung. I didn't stop seeing you, Megan. I just assumed we were solid, that we were getting through life together, paying bills, taking care of the house, planning for maybe trying again with a kid someday. You stopped asking me if I was happy. Her voice was quiet, but sharp. You started seeing me as safe, like I was furniture. And then Tyler came along and made me feel like I mattered again. There it was. The truth. I never thought you'd actually leave me for him, I said. But emotionally? You already did. She looked away. And I knew then that she wasn't sorry. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging for forgiveness or explaining how she'd lost her way. She was just resigned, like the decision had already been made, and I was just late catching up. That night, I slept in the guest room, not because she asked me to, but because I couldn't look at her without feeling like a stranger was living in my wife's skin. The thing that broke me wasn't the emotional cheating. It wasn't the messages or the lies or even the weird, soft way she talked about Tyler like he was some wounded bird she was rescuing. It was the way she acted like I was the problem. She didn't move out. She didn't stop seeing him. If anything, she just started being more discreet, logging out of her laptop, locking her phone, making sure his name didn't pop up on the screen. But the tutoring continued, the extra sessions, the long hours in her office with the door shut. It was like she thought if she toned it down just a little, I'd let it go. And for a while, I did. Not because I was okay with it, but because I didn't know what else to do. I'd built my whole adult life with this woman. She knew all my passwords, my family, my weak spots. And deep down, I still wanted to believe she'd snap out of it. Then came the night we were supposed to have dinner with my sister and her husband. It had been on the calendar for weeks. We hadn't seen them in months, and they were finally coming to town. Megan had agreed to it. She even offered to make lasagna, which used to be her thing. Except around 4:30 that afternoon, she texted me, "Hey, I can't do tonight. Tyler's really struggling with his applications." I told him I'd help him rewrite one of his essays. That was it. No apology. No guilt. No, let's reschedule. Just Tyler, again. I didn't respond. I went home, canceled dinner, and sat on the back porch with a beer and a sinking feeling that felt a lot like finality. Later that night, she came home like nothing was wrong, said, "Hey," tossed her bag on the chair, and started scrolling her phone. I asked her flat out, "Are you in love with him?" She paused, set the phone down. "I don't know. Are you sleeping with him?" She looked offended. Offended? "No. Do you want to?" She didn't answer. That silence said more than anything else ever could. "I think you need to leave," I said. "At least for a while." She stared at me, stunned. "You're kicking me out?" "I'm asking for space. I'm asking you to go stay with your sister, or a friend, or anywhere that isn't here while you figure this out." "You're overreacting," she said, like this was a casual argument about what to order for dinner. "No, Megan. I let this go for too long because I didn't want to face what was happening. But you made your choice. Now I'm making mine." She stood there for a while, just looking at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. Then she quietly went upstairs, packed a small bag, and left. No tears. No fight. Just gone. The silence after she left wasn't peaceful. It was loud, deafening. Every room in the house felt like a reminder of what we'd built, and what she'd burned down for a boy who wasn't even old enough to drink. Megan was gone for 5 days. In that time, I didn't hear from her once. No check-ins. No apologies. Not even a text. And I didn't reach out either. I was too busy trying to remember who I was before all of this. Then on the 6th day, I got a call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. "Is this Megan's husband?" the voice asked. "Male. Mid-40s, maybe. Nervous." "Yeah. Who's this?" "This is Tyler's father. Rick." I went still. He apologized right away. Said he didn't want to interfere, but he thought I deserved to know what was going on. That Megan had been crossing lines. That Tyler had changed. He told me Tyler had been skipping school, had started talking back, acting older than he was. That Megan was constantly texting him at all hours. That they found a conversation on his iPad, the kind of emotional stuff you'd expect between two people in love. Rick said they confronted Tyler, and he admitted everything. that it hadn't gotten physical, but he was waiting until he turned 20. That Megan had told him to be patient, that they were soulmates in the wrong timing. I don't remember hanging up. I just remember staring at the wall again, same way I did weeks ago. Only this time, the numbness was gone. It was rage, sadness, grief, all tangled up. That night, I packed up all her things. Everything. The clothes, the photos, the keepsakes, the blanket she always curled up with on movie nights. I boxed it all and left it by the door. The next day, she showed up, let herself in like nothing had changed. She froze when she saw the boxes. "What is this?" she asked. "You need to move out," I said quietly. Her mouth opened, then closed. "You're really doing this?" I heard from Tyler's dad. That was it. That was the sentence that finally broke her composure. Her face crumpled. "He called you. He's worried." "I'm worried. About this kid you've entangled in your emotional mess because you don't want to deal with your own." "I never touched him. But you were going to." She didn't deny it. "I was lonely," she whispered. "I was too," I replied. But I didn't go find comfort in a teenager. For the first time, she cried. Quietly. Genuinely. And for a moment, I felt something crack inside me. Because no matter how badly she hurt me, she was still the person I shared 12 years of life with. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't know what I was doing. I thought I could fix something inside myself by helping him." "You broke us to do it," I said. "And maybe broke him too." Megan moved out 2 days later. She didn't fight me on it. She barely spoke as she packed her car, only stopping once to ask if I wanted to keep a couple of photo albums. I told her to take them. I couldn't look at our old smiles without feeling hollow. The house felt different after she left. Not just quieter, emptier, like the color had drained from the walls. I kept expecting to hear her laugh from the kitchen or her footsteps on the stairs, but it never came. A few days later, I got a letter from her. Handwritten. She said she was sorry. Truly. That she knew she'd crossed lines she could never uncross. And that the worst part wasn't losing our marriage. It was realizing she'd become the kind of person she used to judge. Someone who couldn't face their own emptiness, so they filled it with validation from someone too young to know better. She said Tyler was getting help. His parents had pulled him from tutoring and enrolled him in a different prep program. That they were watching him closely and giving him the support he needed. Support she never should have pretended to offer. She also said something I didn't expect. "I don't think I ever stopped loving you, but I think I stopped loving myself, and that made me reckless." I didn't write back. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't need more words. I needed peace. It's been 6 months since the day she left. I've repainted the office. It's not a tutoring room anymore. It's mine now. I put a desk in, a few plants, and started journaling again. Something I hadn't done since college. I've reconnected with old friends, started biking on weekends, even took a solo trip to the coast. People ask me sometimes if I'd ever forgive her. And honestly, I don't think forgiveness has to mean reunion. I can let go of the anger without inviting her back into my life. She made a choice, and I made mine. We were two people who once built a life together, and somewhere along the way, we stopped checking in to see if we were still on the same path. She found connection in the wrong place, and I found truth too late. But I've made peace with it. Because sometimes love doesn't end with fireworks or screaming matches. Sometimes it ends in a whisper, a box by the door, and the quiet, heavy knowing that you'll never be the same. But you'll be okay. Eventually, you'll be okay.